Welcome. We are initiating ourselves to glimpse and to imbibe the organization format features of Gita mathematical domain. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is of transcendental organization format. The organization format is of Panchvritya, five folds. We shall take it as a first principle as that the initiation for this transcendental domain is to be of as many as five folds. This being so, today we are focusing our attention upon Gita chapters 1 to 5, the parallel Ganita Sutras values are to be inherently available for having reached at these organization format features of these five folds of chapters 1 to 5. This format in its repeated application will take us to chapters 6 to 10 and further repetition will take to chapters 11 to 15. However, the inherent potentialities of this format will of their own take to the following chapters 16 to 18. We will coming to this aspect of inherent extension of the formats. For the present, today in this session, our pointed attention is to remain focused upon chapters 1 to 5. On the computer screen, the first table is having in its first row the column-wise depiction as of chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The second row tabulates the shlokas of these five chapters of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. These are 47, 72, 43, 42, 29, making total summation value 233. One may have a pause here and take a blissful note that number 5 as the fifth element takes us to Akash, space. Akash is the fifth element. This organization format of five folds is taking, is covering, is of a reach of five Panch Mahabhut, five basic elements. The five phases, the five steps, the five synthetic components of this format are parallel with the five Panchmabhut, five basic elements, Prithvi, Apa, Agni, Vayu and Akash. The format as it is of a end reach as here in respect of chapters 1 to 5 of total shlokas range 233 is of a reach up till the fifth element, that is the space, that is the Akash. Let us revisit the formulation Akash. It is a composition of triple syllables. First syllable elongated A is of TC value 2. The second syllable Ka is of TC value 3. And the third syllable Sha is of TC value 3. C 2 3 3 is the organization feature of sequential placements of the triple syllables. It is a very, very blissful phase and stage of comprehension. The third row tabulates the Pushpikas syllables. These are 48 of chapter 1, 45 of chapter 2, 45 of chapter 3, 50 of chapter 4, and 48 of chapter 5. The summation value is 236. One may further have a pause here and have a blissful comprehension in imbibing, as that value 236 is the value of the total letters of all 13 Ganita Sutras. Therefore, the shlokas coverage range of value 233 parallel with the placements of the triple syllables of the formulation Akash and Pushpika syllable summation value 236 is parallel with the total letters of all 13 Ganita Sutras. Value 13 as such in respect of the creator's space firstly take us to the 12-edged cube, a 3-space body will manifest an additional 13th edge within a 4-space along its 4th dimension. At the second phase and stage, 5-space as origin of a 4-space on transcendence will split the creator's space into a pair of creator spaces, and as a result there will be transcendence range of values 4, 5, 4 of summation value 13. A step ahead, the third phase and stage will be that the self-referral space 6 space as origin of the origin, as origin of a 5 space which is origin of a 4 space is of 13 geometries range. Therefore, the triple frequency of applications of this five-fold format is essentially carrying the formats of the triple occurrence of value 13. First, as 13th edge of a cube. Secondly, as split of 4 space with transcendence of a 5 space as 4 plus 5 plus 4. And thirdly, as along 13 geometries range. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with these organization format features, and it is in terms of these format features that we will be having proper insight and appropriate enlightenment about Geeta Ganita Kshetra, as well as of the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras. Here itself it will be relevant to take note that there are 16 sutras and 13 Upsutras. 16 sutras are of values range 1 to 16, and the factors of the values range 1 to 16 are 29, 16 plus 13. Further value 16 is parallel with the dimensional value of quadruple spatial dimensions of a two space. This way, this interlocking, this interrelationship of the artifices of numbers and dimensional spaces are going to be the ultimate format features which are to be imbibed by us and with whose imbibing we are going to have proper insight and appropriate enlightenment of the order of the Vedic systems. These chapters are also having punctuations as vachas 67412, summation value 20. There are 20 vachas, there are 20 punctuations of this format of organization of chapters 1 to 5. One may further have a pause here and take note that value 20 is the value of formulation Ved. Value 20 is the value of formulation Dev. So all transcendental features and all Vedic enlightenment bliss is inherently embedded in this organization format itself. A step ahead, the gaps values of the shlokas of these 5 chapters of Gita are 31, 25, 29, 1 and 13 of summation value 19. It is going to be very blissful that if we compute the factors of numbers 1 to 19, 1 to 99, 1 to 99, these comes to be precisely 236. See the Pushpikas syllables are 236. The gap values range yields precisely 236 factors, and there are precisely 236 letters of 13 Ganita Sutras. Then further, the values pair 233 and 236 are the end values of the quadruple 233, 234, 235 and 236. Therefore, 233 as dimension will take us up till 236 as an origin. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with these organization format features of chapters 1 to 5 of Gita. Further, in the context, in reference to it, for a parallel comparative comprehension, one shall also glimpse the organization features of Ganita Sutras coordinated with these 5 chapters of Gita. We know that chapter 1 of Gita, Arjuna Vishad Yoga, is coordinated and correlated with Ganita Sutra 10, Yavdunam. Chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga of Gita, is coordinated with Sutra 11, Vesti Samesti. Gita chapter 3, Karam Yoga, is coordinated with Sutra 1, Ekadhiken Purve. Gita chapter 4, Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga, is coordinated with Sutra 13, Sopanantyam Dvayamantyam. and chapter 5 of Gita, Karam Sannyas Yoga, is coordinated and correlated with Sutra 2 Nikhlim Navasta Charmamadashata. The table 2, which is the second table on the computer screen, it in the first row consolidates the correlation sutras as 10, 11, 1, 13, and 2 of summation value 37. One may have a pause here and take note that value 37 is the value, TCV value of formulation Shri Bhagavan. Lord Krishna is participating in the divine dialogue of Gita as Shri Bhagavan. Still further, it also will be very blissful to take note that the total vachas, the punctuations of the text of Gita chapters 1 to 5 is 20, and the numbers range 1 to 20 is yielding precisely 37 factors. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with these organization format features of interrelationship, interlocking of the artifices of the numbers, particularly with the factors of these ranges. The sutras, these 5 sutras, namely Sutra 10, 11, 1, 13, and 2, are the texts of letters 9, 14, 16, 20, 28 of submission value 87. One may have a pause here and take note that value 87 is 3 multiplied by 29, and value 29 is the value of formulation Brahma, Creator the Supreme. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with these organization format features. And in this light, one shall proceed further and to have a glimpse at the transcendental flow, Jyoti flow, Divya Ganga Pravaha along the artifices of soul syllable Om as a format of the organization of the chapters of yoga disciplines of Gita. Format of Gita chapter 1 is depicted on the computer screen. There is 7 streams flow from the Bindu Sarovar. When the Nabhi, the center, the Kendra, the origin, is the origin of a 3 space of 7 geometries range, or when the origin is of 6 spaces, Surya, of 7 space values, then the flow from the Bindu Sarovar is going to be of 7 streams. This flow of 7 streams along the artifices of soul syllable will have a reach up till the 4th component. And as such, this flow range is going to be of value 47. For the present, one shall accept it as that this flow is a transcendental flow, which means this flow is going to be at the origin seat of the creators of space itself. as it is going to be a transcendental flow at the origin seat of the creator's space. So it essentially is going to be a flow within the transcendental cavity at the origin seat of the creator's space. Being a flow within the transcendental cavity, as such, there is no in between restrictions, retardations of any sort, and therefore the beginning as seven streams and end reach at the fourth quarter is like a reach from the initial placement of 10 place value system to the next place value of 10 place value system. Here in this context as well, one shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to glimpse the transcendental origin of the creator's space, being transcendental origin. So it is a transcendental domain, and as such, the domain boundary ratio of the transcendental domain is going to be a raised to power 5 is to 10 b raised to power 4. The creative boundary of 10 components of the transcendental domain is ultimately manifesting the format of 10 place value system. The 9 versions of Hypercube 4 are going to be the manifested formats of 9 numerals of 10 place value system. Therefore, the flow range of 47 shlokas of Arjan Vishad Yoga of chapter 1 are going to be a 7 streams flow from the Bindu Srovar for its reach up till the fourth quarter of the soul syllable itself. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to glimpse and imbibe these organization format features of the yoga disciplines of the text of Gita as availing the format of Divya Ganga Pravaha, transcendental content flow along the artifices of the soul syllable Om. It is going to be a very, very blissful phase and stage. Sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with Vedic systems shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with the Divya Ganga Pravaha, the transcendental content flow. For it, one shall blissfully follow the enlightenment path of the Creator Himself. Lord Brahma, Creator the Supreme, sits comfortably and meditates within cavity of his own heart at the seat of the transcendental Lord Shiva. And it is with the grace of transcendental Lord that Lord Brahma multiplies as 10 Brahmas. It is here where we shall be melting our mental state of a linear logic. It is here where we shall be inherently reaching the consciousness base of our intelligence field. It is here where we are having a transition and transformation for our mental state from a linear logic to a spatial logic of the creator's space. It is the spatial logic, spatial order of the creator's space which is at work, which is playing its role. The mathematics of the Geeta Ganita Kshetra of its yoga disciplines is the mathematics of a spatial order. Sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with Vedic systems shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to continuously remain in prolonged sittings of trance so that the linear logic mental state of physical matter of three space melts of its own and gives place to by transition and transformation for the linear order into a spatial order. This way, the Arjuna Vishad, the delusions and illusions of the Arjuna because of the linear order which have come in his way to have the comprehension of the reality features of our existence phenomenon, those are to be transcended. This whole exercise of chasing Geeta Ganita Kshetra is ultimately going to be the exercise of the Arjuna to transcend its delusions and illusions of the worldly logic, physical matter logic, linear logic. We have to transit and transform our mental state from the format features of a linear logic to the format features of a spatial logic. It is this delusion, it is this illusion which is going to be melted, which is going to be transited. It is going to be the end fruit, and the beginning for it is the divine dialogue prescript of Shri Bhagwan. Shri Bhagwan enters this divine dialogue only from Sankhya Yoga, chapter 2. The organization format of Sankhya Yoga, text of 72 shlokas range, brings us face to face with as that the original Divya Ganga Pravaha of seven streams which has emanated from the Bindu Sarovar, the first component, the same with its reach up till the second component, the same inherently has reversal of its orientation. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to glimpse and imbibe this inherent feature of reversal of orientation permissible in the spatial logic. We know that the insect who is along a wire, along the format of a line, cannot reverse. But once the insect is within a surface, he can certainly have reversal permissible within the surface. Now, see, the value 72 constitutes a reflection pair with the value 27. And see, the difference value of 72 and 27 is 45. There are precisely 45 syllables of the Pushpika of chapter 2. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with these organization format features. One shall permit the transcending mind to glimpse these features. It is with glimpsing of these features that one shall be melting one's mental state because of the linear logic. The linear logic permits a progression only along one direction. However, the spatial logic Two-space logic permits reversal of orientation as well. It is this feature, it is this potentiality, it is this value of the spatial logic which permits reversal at every step. It is this potentiality of reversal at every step which is going to be the potentiality of a Vedic mind, of Vedic logic, Vedic formats. Sankhya Yoga is the yoga of a knowledge. Karma Yoga is the yoga of actions, of logistics, of applied steps. The pure values are the Sankhya Yoga, and applied values are the Karma Yoga. Now, we shall, before progress further, before we reach chapter 3, let us have a glimpse of first yoga step of 47 value and second yoga step of value 72. The difference value, the gap value is 25. See, value 25 is the value of formulation Vishnu. Further, the value 25 is the value of TCV Prithvi. So, in fact, on the one hand, we are transcending from the first element and are entering the domain of a second element. Now, value 72 is also of the organization of 12 into 6, which is parallel with 72 coordinates fixation of the transcendental boundary of 12 components of self-referral domain. It is like this, that different streams of features and values go on simultaneously emanating. In the linear logic, it is only one sequential logistic steps permissible. However, in the spatial order, simultaneously more than one sequential logical logistics are permissible. It is this multiple sequential progressions logistics simultaneous emanating from the same point. Let us pose to ourselves. If somebody says, I give you numbers 1 and 2, tell me what is going to be the next number. The linear logic will take the next number shall be 3. However, if one is not conditioned because of a linear logic, one can say, no, the third number could be 4. The linear logician will ask, how? He will say, take 1 as 2 raised per 0, 2 as 2 raised per 1. The next step sequentially is going to be raised 2 raised per 2. Therefore, the linear logic is inherently restricting conditioning, which conditions melt away while we are along the spatial logic format. The first basic distinguishing feature of Vedic mathematics over and above the modern linear logic mathematics is that the insistence of the linear logic is upon one space line interval as an axis, while the spatial mathematics permits two space as an axis. Once we are having plane instead of a line as an axis, then we can visualize, project, and have a blissful glimpse as to how wonderful transformation is inherently inbuilt here in this simple step of transition and transformation from the format of a linear logic to the format of a spatial logic. Let us, in this background, glimpse the format of Gita chapter 3. See the chapter 2 with reversal of orientation is having a reversal at the second component, and there is a reach from 2 to 7 back. But chapter 3 is not conditioned because of the reversal at value 2 at the second component. It still permits continuity of progression, and there is a reach from value 3 to value 4. Chapter 3, Karam Yoga of Gita, chapter 3 is of 43 shlokas range. Now, it is this progression, despite the inner inherent reversal potentiality, it is this split at the second step, and the split is that though from the original Bindu Surovar there was a flow only in one direction of a reach up to value 2. However, the flow at the second component is of twofold directions, from 2 to 1 as well as ahead. This way we shall sequentially imbibe the organization format features of this fivefold format. It is this comprehension, it is this imbibing which is ultimately going to completely melt away our mental conditioning because of the linear logic, and our mental state will ultimately be of the Vedic order, of the spatial order, or in other words, the Vishad, the delusion, the illusion of Arjuna is going to be sequentially in a mental state for it to be crystallized to be of complete transition and transformation from the linear order to the spatial order. Here itself, it will be very blissful to take note that formulation ek, simple rendering 1, and formulation triya, simple rendering 3. Both these formulations, ek and triya, are accepting common TC value 8, and C value 8 is 2 raised to the power 3. So once we will be transiting and transforming from 1 raised to the power 3, means a unit, solid unit, to the second pair of units set up, then the mathematics is completely transforming. It is this inherent, inbuilt transition and transformation of the mathematics, mathematical domain, mathematical processes, mathematical computations, which are to be imbibed. For it, naturally, we have to have sequential imbibing of the mathematical process of the Ganita Sutras. Chapter 1 of Gita is availing the mathematics of Ganita Sutra 10, which means deficiency. So, for the mental state which is tuned only for acceptance of the positive dimensions, for them naturally it will be a great mental strain to accept the negative dimensions. Further, it also will be very, very strenuous for such mental states to accept the negative number of dimensions. So negative dimensions and negative number of dimensions, and then negative number of dimensions of negative dimensions is ultimately is going to be a full breakdown for such mental states. To avoid it or to have a blissful transition and transformation, we have to follow, we have to approach the Vedic systems, the Vedic way. The Vedic systems are first in chapters 1 to 5 are bringing us face to face with the organization features. But in the repeated frequency of this fivefold format from chapter 6 to 10, there will be a further initiation phase as to how from the thinking we logic we have to enter the meditation logic. Chapter 6 is Atam Sanyam Yoga. The Atam Sanyam Yoga in a way is bringing us face to face with the inner compactified state of human body. It is from mundane body that we will be entering the subtle body. Therefore, we shall sequentially visit the organization format of the text of Gita with the help of the Ganita Sutras, the way these stand coordinated. Now, it is in this background that let us proceed further and comprehend the organization format features of the fourth yoga, Gyan Karm Sannyas Yoga of values range 42. See, the second and third disciplines had organizationally been of two folds reach from value 2 towards back to value 1 as well as ahead from value 3 to 4. However, the fourth discipline is of a reach from value 2 to value 4. It is here where the spatial dimension has come into play parallel with the linear logic. We can have a pause here and take note that here 2 is being taken as 1. 1 as a 1 and 2 as 1 are two distinct generic units. Therefore, we have to sequentially imbibe the different sets of features coming into play at different phases and stages of this organization format. We shall be coming to all these aspects while we'll be taking them up in detail. Here today, we are having initial exposure for us to these initiation phase and stage features. Chapter 5 is the chapter which is a Karam Sannyas Yoga. There is a Arjuna Vishad Yoga, then there is a Sankhya Yoga, there is a Karam Yoga, followed by Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga, and then at fifth phase and stage, Karma Sannyas Yoga. Now, one shall have a comprehensive view of this consolidated format. One shall sit comfortably. One shall permit the transcending mind to glimpse this consolidated format being depicted distinctively chapter wise, and also the complete comprehensive view as well as of chapter 1 on the one hand, 2 and 3 followed by 5 and 4. It is this comprehensive view of the formats of Gita chapters 1 to 5 which are ultimately going to be our learning. From initiation to learning, we have to reach from the sequential step-by-step imbibing of the organization format features of each step to the comprehensive view of the consolidated format of the complete format itself. It is in this background that we shall have a visit to the Pushpikas of these 5 chapters, these 5 yoga disciplines. Let us visit creators of space. Let us visit force space. Let us visit hypercube 4. Let us visit the center of hypercube 4. Let us visit the origin of a force space. 5 space is playing a role of an origin of a force space. Force space is a creator's space. Force space is a spatial order space. Its origin is transcendental. 5 space is playing the role of an origin of a force space. 5 space is a solid order space. So we have to visit the solid order origin. We are, while being parallel with the organization format of the mathematical domain of Gita, we are in a spatial order setup. But what is the end reach of this spatial order format? It is naturally a solid order format. Means it is a reach from domain to an origin. It is a reach from 2 space in the role of dimension to 3 space in the role of a dimension. Therefore, the Pushpikas are the end reach value of each discipline. Now, these 5 depictions of 5 Pushpikas of these 5 chapters are, as are being depicted here, are initially bringing us face to face with that value 48, the number of syllables of Pushpika of chapter 1 is 2 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 6, means it is the 6 space as a domain, 4 space as a dimension, 2 space a dimension of dimension. The spatial order with which we are chasing is taking us up till 6 space. Now, because this 2 space is a spatial space which permits a reversal of orientations as well, so the chapter 5 and chapter 1 both are having 48 as the Pushpika value. Now 6 space is the origin of a 5 space, and 5 space is a solid order. As such, there is a split for a 5 space domain. That is why chapter 2 and chapter 3 are having Pushpika letters 45 each. And this split of the transcendental origin creates a transcendental cavity, and as such, the Pushpika of chapter 4 is of 50 syllables setup. That is why the logic, the spatial logic, which results into creation of a transcendental cavity at the origin seat, becomes even more deep, complicated, delusion state for Arjuna when he straightway puts to Lord Krishna as that the enlightenment which Lord Krishna is bestowing upon him, the prescript which Lord Krishna is giving to Arjuna, as that it was he who had given this enlightenment of this yoga to Surya. The Arjuna straightway says, you are born in later point of time than that of a sun, that how all this can happen. It is the linear logic coming into the way of appreciation. It is the spatial logic which results into transcendental cavity at the origin seat. We have to sit completely in a mental state where the linear logic stands completely melted and the spatial order in its play is also melting the transcendental origin. The solid domain of the linear order as well melts away. The melting of a linear logic would mean melting of the domain, solid domain of linear order as well. Melting of mental state of linear logic would mean that it is not only one space as axis is to be transcended, but also the three space domain created because of linear order as well as to be melted away. It is this phase and stage which is to be attained, which is to be glimpsed, which is to be imbibed. And it is for this insight and enlightenment we have to initiate ourselves. And our initiation is going to be of a continuous steps. It is to be of the sequential steps of the organization format features of the text of Ganita Sutras 1 to 5 as five folds of the format, and the mathematics of it is the mathematics of Ganita Sutras, but the sequence and order of the Ganita Sutras themselves is to adopt the spatial format, and as such the sequence and order in which the mathematics of Ganita Sutras is to be applied as well is to be appreciated. Thank you very much.